Unshaken, the story of Daniel for today's teens. Imagine walking into a new school where everything feels unfamiliar. The hallways are crowded with people you've never seen before, speaking in slang and jokes that you don't understand. The way people dress, the way they act, it's all so different from what you're used to. Even the food in the cafeteria is strange. You try to blend in, but deep down, there's a part of you that wonders if you're losing yourself in the process. Maybe you've been in a situation like this, feeling like you don't quite belong. You want to fit in, but at the same time, you don't want to lose what makes you unique. The pressure to go along with the crowd, to conform to what's popular, can be overwhelming. Whether it's at school, online, or even in your group of friends, standing out can feel risky. What if they think you're weird? What if they don't accept you? This struggle to balance fitting in while staying true to who you are is something most of us face at some point. And believe it or not, it's something Daniel faced too, thousands of years ago in a place that was as foreign to him as a new school might feel to you today. Introducing Daniel, a teen like you. Daniel wasn't so different from you. In fact, when his story begins, he was likely a teenager, just like you are now. Imagine being taken from everything familiar, your home, your friends, your family, and being forced to live in a place with totally different customs and expectations. That's exactly what happened to Daniel. When Daniel was taken captive, he was brought to Babylon, one of the most powerful and advanced empires of the time. The Babylonians had their own way of doing things, different language, different food, different beliefs, and most importantly, different values. From the moment he arrived, Daniel was under pressure to conform, to leave behind everything he had known and become like everyone else. But here's where Daniel's story stands out. Even though he was just a teenager, living in a foreign land surrounded by people who didn't share his faith or values, Daniel made a choice. He chose not to give in. He didn't compromise who he was, even when it would have been easier to just go along with the crowd. Instead, Daniel stayed true to his beliefs, and his courage and conviction made all the difference. Daniel's story isn't just an ancient tale from a distant past, it's a journey that's as relatable today as it was back then. Whether you're navigating social pressures at school, online, or among friends, Daniel's experience of standing strong in who he was can inspire you to do the same. Like Daniel, you have the power to stay true to yourself, even when the world around you tries to push you in another direction. The Babylonian exile. Daniel's story begins during a time of great upheaval for the people of Israel. In 605 BC, the mighty Babylonian Empire, led by King Nebuchadnezzar, invaded Israel, marking the start of the Babylonian exile. The Babylonians defeated the Israelites, destroyed their temple, and carried off many of the most promising young people, including Daniel, to Babylon. This exile wasn't just a temporary relocation, it was a forced removal from everything the Israelites held sacred, including their land, their temple, and, for many, their identity. The Israelites and the Babylonians couldn't have been more different. Israel was a small nation devoted to the worship of the one true God, Yahweh, whose laws and values guided their entire way of life. In contrast, Babylon was a sprawling empire filled with towering ziggurats, temple structures, bustling markets, and a pantheon of gods. The Babylonians practiced astrology, believed in magic, and lived by different moral standards. The Israelites' devotion to their God, their food laws, and their rituals set them apart, and being thrust into a land that didn't respect any of that was disorienting and threatening. Life in Babylon. Babylon was a city of overwhelming grandeur. Its towering walls, hanging gardens, and magnificent palaces made it one of the wonders of the ancient world. The city was wealthy, advanced, and filled with temptation. Everywhere Daniel looked, there were signs of Babylon's power and influence, idols of foreign gods, grand feasts filled with food forbidden to the Israelites, and a society that valued pleasure, power, and success over the humility and devotion that Daniel had grown up with. Living in Babylon wasn't just about adjusting to a new place, it meant daily challenges to Daniel's identity and faith. In Babylon, people worshipped multiple gods, made decisions based on astrology and omens, and indulged in practices that went directly against everything Daniel believed. The pressure to conform was immense. Daniel and his friends had to navigate this new world without losing themselves in it. Yet, despite the temptations and the constant pressure to change, Daniel remained committed to his faith and values. While Babylon offered wealth, status, and acceptance, Daniel chose the harder path, staying true to God, even when it set him apart. He resisted the cultural pressures to blend in and found a way to live with integrity in a world that was so different from everything he knew.